a sheet metal screw. If I ream it out with a sheet metal screw, it might get big enough for me to fit the machine screw through. Are we live? Can everyone hear me speaking?
Hello, everybody. We're live.
That answers my question. We're live.
It's sending data. Is today July 23rd? I guess so.
Sure. Yes.
Ooh, our bit rate is so high right now.
That bit rate. Is it really July 23rd
Mitchell
already?
Reader, welcome back.
Hey, what's up?
Road trip. He went on a road trip. Where'd you go?
Is that why you weren't here with us last week?
He was riding around on jet skis like me.
Ha!
It's still sending to Twitch. How do we sound?
Angelic, right? Will this be the literal first episode where we do not have an audio issue?
He was riding jet skis.
Oh,
Lake of the Ozarks, beautiful.
nice. Where were you riding your jet skis for your birthday, Emoto?
I was in Gulf Shores, Alabama.
So you were riding on the Gulf of Mexico.
I love Lake of the Ozarks, though. My other new hometown is Harrison, Arkansas, so I'm really close to that area.
That almost fits. Okay.
Oh, there we go. I think I just got the Twitch notification.
Where is Lake of the Ozarks? Where is the said lake?
Lake of the Ozarks is in Missouri.
Ah, okay.
Arkansas. Yeah. Okay, so are you ready? You're dressed?
No.
You're looking good? I'm going to take off the holding screen.
No. I'm none of the above.
Well, let's try it anyway.
Banned from Twitch. Hi.
Whoa! I shaved my beard, as you can see, Kyle. I don't have the awesome handlebar mustache beard going on today.
Yeah, I was when Steve said that he shaved his beard, I was very scared. It turned out that I think I like the handlebars more than the wizard beard.
He grew it back really fast. Hello, Soulless Corpse 84 and everyone. Oh yeah, Jimmy Bolton says you sound very angelic.
Why, thank you. Oh wait, that's you. Sorry. How do I sound?
No, you sound angelic.
Oh wow, I'm flattered. So
blushing.
blushing.
A big man crush on you, Kyle.
Aww.
So everyone, again, I added this awesome little Armarco truck. We have a 24-hour free shipping link for domestic ground shipping for orders over $99 for our PinTech people. So I hope you spent last week loading up your cart for this moment. And there's a link in the chat right there.
The moment you've all been waiting for. Free shipping!
Yeah, exactly. So Kyle, what did you guys work on last week while I was out?
Well, we had a grand old time working on Bride of Pinbot and failing working on Bride of Pinbot when the culminative moment where everything was going to go together. We lost the drill bit, and then we figured out we lost the drill bit because the chuck was really crappy and wouldn't hold the teeny drill bit. But
so did you get to finish the install of the batteries?
No, but we're going to do that today because I have this drill bit, this drill that actually holds the drill bit, which is nice. So we'll get on that.
Upgrade it. Okay, yeah, because that's such an important thing to do, right? To all your pinball machines is replace or pull that battery pack off of the computer.
Absolutely. Well, it's also important to finish the goal you're trying to teach people to do when you have that allotted time to do it. So, yeah.
And So this week, August 1st, we will be doing this presentation with Tim Shoalwater and TJ Beyer over on the West Coast called, what is it called? Buying your first pinball machine.
So you want to buy a pinball machine.
Yeah, so you want to buy a pinball, and they were all, when we were practicing, they were all sharing kind of horror stories, and there were so many pictures of corroded computers from batteries exploding. And
I think TJ and I's phones are mostly cat pictures and destroyed pinball machines, so it's kind of entertaining. Between all three of us, we have like a literal lifetime of pinball experience, which is exciting. So it'll be pretty fun. Tim gives this speech at California Extreme every year, and unfortunately, since we cannot be there this year, we'll do it online.
Yeah.
That is a show that everyone needs to go to.
If you follow, they're going to be premiering it on their California Extreme Twitch page. So if you guys are on Twitch, follow /CA Extreme for California Extreme, and then you'll get notified. They have a whole day filled of awesome content. I think they're even getting remote pinball play together.
Oh, that's fun.
And some other types of games. We're just doing a presentation, but there's going to be a lot of other cool stuff too.
Yeah, it's a fun show. California Extreme is
I wish we were going.
Settled in it's in Silicon Valley, so the South Bay. It's in Sunnyvale and or Santa Clara, but Sunnyvale is where Atari was headquartered forever. A lot of people that come to California Extreme are like ex-Atari employees and engineers. So you see some incredible, hey, we made 3 of these for test and 2 of them got thrown away, and this is the only one left kind of video games, which is really fun.
Yeah,
so a lot of the other
rare games in there.
Yeah, so a lot of the talks are also from, Atari engineers and people that have been in the industry forever. It's can learn a lot.
For sure. And Kyle, you brought some of our new Marco keychains. I'm so excited for this because we worked on with Mark, King of Marco, our new Marco keychain design, perfect for your coin door keys. It looks the same on the end, but then look at that. Yeah, it's got a quarter. It says, "In pinball, we trust."
Super
Isn't
cute.
That beautiful? So maybe we'll throw out a few like trivia questions or something during the stream today, and if whoever gets it right first, we'll send you guys keychain.
I'm all about that. That sounds fun.
I hope you have some trivia for them. All my trivia questions are around hard body, and I think everyone's sick of hearing that.
No one's sick of that. I'll throw out some hard ones, but the problem is I know if TJ's here, he's just going to win them all. So TJ might just get a keychain, and he can stay silent through our trivia contest. So.
Yeah, Mitchell Reeder, we're going to put you on our keychain list anyway because you are here almost every single week.
Friend of the show, Mitchell Reeder.
Yeah, so send us an email to marcotv@marcopinball.com with your address, and we'll send you a keychain, man. Thanks for joining us again. Oh, and I just remembered, I need to add my products. So
yeah, do that while we wait for people to stream in.
While I do that, why don't you give us a brief overview of what our class session is going to be today?
We don't have like a super solid topic in mind, but we're going to keep working on swapping over all of the old and broken and stuff from Bride of Pinbot to new things, and also just kind of start reassembling it. I'm changing out the center ramp currently and dropping things all over the place. It's real common with these center ramps on Bride of Pinbot to be really busted out at the ramp entrance here. And it's just, you can get it's amazing that we live in the time we do.
So big.
When we can get these new ramps for, good reproduction ramps for the price we can. This is like a $130 ramp. Traditionally, I would have to sit here and try to get some, epoxy and some plastic and try to get this crack fixed up. And, but when I'm charging $100, $80 an hour or whatever, it's not worth it. Just get a new ramp and it's way better.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever seen how they make those ramps? They have like these huge metal molds, and then they lay the plastic on it and smash it.
Yeah. Do you know what that process is called?
No. What is it called? That would be a good trivia question.
It's super cool. They use like a bunch of hot air and to heat the plastic and suction to get the shape of the ramp. It's an incredible process. Okay, here's a trivia question. Let's just throw this out right now. What was the first pinball game to use a vacuum-formed ramp?
Oh, okay.
There are plenty of pinball games with ramps before this game, but what was the first one with a vacuum-formed ramp?
Anyone in the chat? I don't even know. What year was it?
Not giving it away.
Oh, that gives it away.
It's a pretty easy one. This is like some good intermediate pinball trivia. It doesn't give it away, but it'll narrow it down too easy because this was also in an era when, I mean, just a few years before Williams and their pinball flyers, they had one flyer for all 3 games they made that year. Pinball was dying. And this game.
Reader guessed. I just lost it. What did you guess, bro? You guessed Space Shuttle?
Ha! Okay, well, now you win 2 keychains because you're right.
No, this guy. Matt, Soulless Corpse guessed Road Kings. And then
Road
got
Kings.
A diner, but...
I think Road Kings came out the same year that Road Kings might be 87. I always get Motordome and Road Kings confused, but either way, yeah, no, that's absolutely it. So, Space Shuttle, great game.
Sheesh, maybe we need to send Mitchell a T-shirt since he's just killing it today.
So yeah, working on this ramp, it's I'm gonna put this aside for now because it's a little involved. Getting these switches out and putting them through the new ramp. We could set this aside for a hot minute, but yeah, this is more of an intense project, putting a ramp into a game. Sometimes it requires some major disassembly. Sometimes it's really simple. This one, I guess this one's pretty simple, but the way they run the wires through these ramps for the switches all go through these teeny holes, which are like mounting holes also for the switches. So it's not just kind of like removing the harness and putting everything on. This one I'm, resoldering and unsoldering, and it's, this is a little more involved. But yeah, what I wanted to show.
Is it ready to go on the game, or?
No. I've still got to put these 2 switches on. We could sit there and do that while we wait for people to show up, I suppose. But if not, we can start moving on to some actual lessons. I've got a common problem that happens with these Williams games from the 80s and 90s is they started mounting a lot of lamps onto circuit boards like this. And you'll notice that, oh man, my light doesn't work. So you put a new light in, it still doesn't work. And you put a new socket in, it still doesn't work. And then you start wiggling the connector and they start working. There's an easy fix for this. It requires a little bit of soldering skill, but this is like the easiest I can have to solder on a circuit board kind of project ever. So we could work on that and we could get these ramps out of the way.
Yeah, sounds cool.
I have
big old ramps.
It's been a while since I've worked on Bride of Pinbot. I don't remember.
Marking Family Guys is tardy. You're late.
Late. Okay, we'll think of more pinball trivia. I'll see what I can come up with. Let me keep all this hardware together because I don't want to lose ramp hardware. Just drop my microphone.
Nice. All I know is I am so ready to upgrade to more nicer cameras.
Yeah, seriously.
If any of our producers are watching the stream with us right now, can we upgrade our cameras? Because look at that blue cam.
Is it super bad?
We want a bunch of Sony cams. That's my request. Look at that. I tried
with the zoom quality on the Sony cam, and we've got it zoomed in pretty far now, but like we were able to zoom in like across the room, and it was crystal clear. It's wonderful.
Yeah, those cameras are great.
Okay, so.
All right, soldering time.
This is our circuit board. I think I was talking about last time, some boards have like what's called a component side and a solder side. This board's a little goofy, but it makes sense. The component, this header This is the pins that stick out of the circuit board that the plug will go into. It's called a header. It's inserted through the back side, and the pins are long, and they go through the circuit board. So
Can we zoom in on that a little bit? Let's see.
This guy here.
Nice.
Generally, when you have generally when you have a header like this plastic bit or the base is on this side. Why Williams did this, I don't know. Maybe it's a little more secure. I'm not going to change it. It's easy to fix. What generally happens is you get some cracked solder.
Come out a little bit. There you go.
On these guys right here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to suck the old stuff off and add a little bit of new stuff, and that will get this lamp board working again. This lamp board is the weird one in the back. I think I forget what it does or what it indicates.
Yeah, I was going to say, where does that go?
It's like way in the back of this game. It's really hard to get to, and no one ever wants to work on it. But since I've got the game apart, it's the Pinbot values.
Ah, okay.
So when I go through a game, you have to be, or I like to be super methodical, because, you know, if I'm selling something to someone, like I need to like also want to own it at the same time. I wouldn't sell something to someone as a working game or something if I wouldn't be super stoked to have this in my room. You know, in my living room or whatnot. So if there's lights out, that makes me mad. So I'm going to try to fix this now. So what we're going to do, let's clean the tip. We'll do this like a good solderist. I'm going to use my steel brush, and I'm just going to kind of scrape away at the old nasty solder here. If I had my soldering station, we would have a little metal sponge that we could dip, or scrape off the old solder with. But I don't like to carry that with me because it's too big. I guess I shouldn't solder on top of a battery. It's bad practice. But what we'll do, again, remember when we're soldering, sometimes when you've got old or oxidized solder, you want to add a little bit of fresh solder to help it melt completely. In this case, the solder on this header is still really shiny, so I probably won't have any trouble getting it to melt through. But I'm going to get this to balance somehow. I'm going to use this index of Allen wrenches, and I'm going to take a lamp out so it doesn't rock left and right.
You just throw it down. Gento. Wow, that's a big solder sucker.
Yeah, this one's handy. It's big, but I talk about how I don't like carrying big things in my toolbox, but then this is my solder sucker. So we'll get in here and we'll just watch and wait for the solder to melt and just suck it away. If you remember from last week when we were soldering on the computer, I think I was talking about dual-sided boards, fillets, traces, and stuff like that, and how generally you don't want to use a solder sucker when you're working on a circuit board. In this case, the pads for the solder are so large, we don't really run into the issue where we might accidentally suck one up or remove it from the board. I'll get a visual reference as soon as I get all this nasty solder up. And we'll look at some of the headers or connectors on like the MPU board that we were working on last week. And you can see the difference in size between these pads. Again, the pad is the metallic section that is stuck on the actual PCB that allows you to get solder to stick to it.
We had a good question from the chat. Is there a preferred temperature to desolder and to solder with? Do you change that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly not too particular about it. I have mine set, this adjustable temperature iron set to 410 degrees Celsius. You kind of want it to be as hot as you can without making it too nasty or too hot around your fingers, so you can get in there and get out. You want to melt it as quick as possible and then get it out. In some applications, like if you're working on a coil, the lug of a coil, those things are kind of squished in between nylon, and if you get that lug real hot, you might start melting the nylon. So once you become better, you'll kind of realize like, oh, my soldering iron works really well here, and this is like a good setting to keep it at. Then again, I'm also not a professional solder guy, right? I do this for a living, but some people that like really work with sensitive equipment, they might say, okay, this works better for this, or this solder reacts better this way. With pinball and what I do, I kind of leave it and forget it, set it and forget it. If you could zoom in on some of the traces for like these chips and resistors here, or the pads, you can see how small those things are. I'll put the end of this zip tie here for reference, right? Those things are very small. That's a very delicate very delicate little thing.
You need like a magnifying glass to work on that.
Yeah, when I'm checking my work, sometimes I do use a jeweler's loop. Now, if we zoom in on these pads that I was working on here, you see how much bigger those things are in reference to the zip tie end?
They're very sparkly. Our camera's trying to... See, Sony, we were just talking about how awesome you are. Now you're being slow to focus. There we go.
Yeah, so they're so much bigger. So you don't have to worry as much about like accidentally sucking that pad off of the circuit board when you are using a manual solder sucker. So again, we could use solder, desoldering braid. That would work great in this instance, but I've done this a lot with this solder sucker, so I'm comfortable with what I can and can't use this tool for. When in doubt, always do it the safe way. OK, so here we're left with some clean desoldered pads. We're going to heat the pad and the header pin equally, get them nice and hot, add some solder, and create a much better connection that will probably last another 30 years. This is an old game. I keep forgetting that all of these Williams games are like really freaking old now. They're still new to me. Ugh. All right. So again,
they're older than you. He had to think about that. He's like, No,
yeah, I think WPC came out the year I was born. I think.
Twinsies. We'll take it.
All right.
So can you what if you put too much solder on the board? Do you mess it up? Because I feel like board work with soldering is like the scariest thing about pinball repair. What advice do you have?
It takes a hand, less is more, and make it look factory. You know, if you've got this giant blob on there and it doesn't look quite right, yes, more can be bad. The solder will solidify and cool down at different rates when you've got like a big pile of it on there, and that can cause a cold solder joint. You want like a happy little peak. You want a teeny little bit that kind of runs up at a nice angle and then eliminates right when it gets to a satisfying bit. You don't want a big blob. You know, I can put too much solder on and we could see what that looks like. I'll do a really bad job on purpose.
No, don't do that.
No, we will. We're going to do a bad job and then do a good job, and I'll show you what you're looking for or how you can kind of judge a solder joint. I'm getting the pin and the pad hot at equal levels, and I'm just going to put a ridiculous amount of solder on there. I'm going to do the same thing over here, but I'm going to do it with how much I actually would want to add. Get it nice and hot and wick it up.
It's stressful. I can already see the difference just from... Wow.
Let me try to put the soldering iron somewhere again where I'm not going to melt my
Oh, gosh.
place. Mookie's pretty angry, huh?
Where's my babysitter?
OK. So we've got way too much solder here on your left. Let me use a poker. Way too much solder, just the right amount of solder.
Yeah.
You know, will this work? Yes. Does it look sloppy? Very much so. It's just you don't need that much solder. You can do it with a nice little brick like that, and it's going to hold just the same. It's going to look better, look factory. I always try to make these things look like you have never worked on them before. If you made it look just as good as it did when you took it apart, you know you're doing a good job. So.
And do I run any risks of burning the board if I hit the soldering iron onto the board for too long? Does that mess anything up?
You don't, you know, that's where it all comes down to practice and experience, and not holding the iron on the board or, you know, holding it at a weird angle where you're roaching the board and also heating the trace at the same time. When you're soldering, again, you're trying to get heat. You're trying to evenly heat the two surfaces and also melt the solder at the same time. Is this in frame at all? So what we're going to do is if I laid the soldering iron down flat, I could get the same effect, right? I'm touching the pin, I'm touching the pad, but I'm also laying the soldering iron down on the circuit board, and that's not ideal. You can burn through this trace that runs along the edge here.
Yeah.
The ideal way to do this would be to come in at a nice angle where you can still heat the two things, respectively. I'm touching the pad and the pin at the same time. You could get the same thing doing this, but that's just bad form. You want to keep this away from everything that you don't want to heat up. Just remember that. This thing's real hot.
Yeah, like your fingers, your bare hands.
I've lost fingerprints a
face.
few times. They come back. Fingers are amazing. But yeah, let's resolder this. We'll make these all look pretty nice, and we'll get a good joint here. But again, this is a good board to practice on. A board like this that's pretty robust. You're not going to melt through it. You're not going to ruin traces. If you have practiced soldering and you have this problem and you don't know if you can tackle this job or not, this would be the good board to test your skills on. Right,
and not like one of the big computer boards in the head.
Yeah, again, because it's like, the computers are replaceable, but they're small. These are kind of unique. They're actually, they're hard to find, but if you do damage to them, they're easily repairable. There is no active components on this board. You've got a header where voltages come in. You've got some diodes that do their magic, and then you've got light bulbs. So even if you roached one of these things, you can repair it, but it's better to practice on that than on a computer. Or if you've got a junk board. If you had a board that was super corroded and you replaced your MPU with something else, you could absolutely practice on some of the larger traces on these boards too, if you're not going to use it again, right? Try not to ruin something you need. And practice always makes perfect. So yeah, this should work now. We can actually plug it in and see if it does work. Let's do that.
Yay, let's do that.
And then I'm going to find out, oh no, we just had broken light bulbs. And oh, actually, you know what? We can't do that yet. I forgot. The computer is laying out of the game. Let's go back and finish up that bit where we're going to drill the hole into the cabinet to mount our battery holder that I'm throwing all over the place.
All right, rewind.
Rewind.
Finish part of episode 13 where we have removed the battery pack from the computer to mount on the side, inside of the back box.
Yes. While we get the camera moved over here, I'm going to not break my rule and my tip that I gave out last time.
Something. Oh, we now have no audio. Can someone hear me? Kyle, did you stop talking? Where Kyle is? I see him moving. Oh, they can all hear me, so I guess I'll just run the show. So I'm going to solder all over this board. Kyle, keep talking. I see your thing so loud. I think our noise gate filter that we were messing with yesterday is just a little bit off, but I'm not going to mess with it right now. They say they can hear you now. Yeah. Solder everywhere. Yeah. Don't let me be the teacher. Let's solder this and solder this. The silver is so shiny. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna turn off your noise gate filter. Welcome to the South. How's that? Hold on, Kyle. Hold on. Now they don't hear you at all. Why did I turn off that filter? Hold on. I'm just gonna. All right. Talk for me, boy. Yeah, you should never say that. Yeah, maybe you can interpret his hand gestures. Oh, God. Do you know sign language? Keep talking. Oh, that's so weird. Let's see. Keep talking. Check a fuse. Maybe if I toggle it on and off. Yeah, we blew Kyle's fuse. Anything? Transitioning to another scene and back. Oh gosh, you don't want me to do that. Hold on one sec. Well, you keep talking. Tell me about your life. What are you gonna do this weekend? Oh. That's last weekend. Let me see. This weekend is in a few days. Oh, there we go. No. All right, let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to click your little cog. Oh, wow. The audio device just randomly reset to your Realtek. How about now? Yeah, I'll check yours. Okay, wait. No. Yeah, because I can see your levels. Great. All right, hold on. We're going to go to this. We're going to come back to this. All right. Nothing. Wow. Why did that happen? This is so sad. Maybe you need to toggle your lavalier mic. Uh-huh. All right. Oh. No, you look good on the advanced audio settings. I know, this is so sad. Yeah, I would say maybe just plug in the snowball, I guess. Well. Yeah, stream repair. That's what we're working on for today's show. All right, let me get a...
We only really need one. Okay, anyway. Tell me, I'll just continue talking and blabbing and... Oh, look at that. Like it was meant to be.
I think I can hear you now.
You think? You can hear me, but what about the chat?
Well, I can always hear you.
Yeah, for better or worse. What you got? What you got? Anybody?
Oh, yeah, I think you're back.
I'm back? Oh man, you guys missed all of my great stories.
All right, let's test the audio.
All right, hello. Look at that. This is the first time we've had an audio problem mid-stream as opposed to right at the beginning. Is everything okay? Ugh. Nice. While I was gone, I did all the boring stuff.
Yeah, it's noisy, but, you know.
Sorry, guys. This is a constant problem, and we'll figure out why soon enough.
Oh, so now that they can hear you, they wanted to know what your tip was from last week.
I don't know.
I don't even remember.
What tip? I'm full of tips.
Which tip do you want?
What I was gonna say before I drilled this guy in while Emoto was so bravely trying to get the audio working again was to set the depth of your drill bit. If you're ever going to do this, you can set the depth by putting the bit a little bit deeper inside the chuck, so you do not. Oh, nice! It broke when the drill fell over. These teeny bits are super delicate. But what you can do is, so you don't risk drilling through the head or something like that,
set the depth on the corner of the head like this.
So you can not drill all the way through the game. You'll never have holes. I've been doing this a long time, and I've never drilled a hole through a head, knock on wood. Anywho, but now that we've got that set up, we can finish and reinstall the MPU as soon as I find where I put the screwdriver. We still okay on audio? Can everyone hear me?
No, because we got an echo. Wow. Maybe your mic came back. Hold on. What?
What do you want me to do? Do you want me to unplug the snowball?
I'm going to mute the other one.
Oh, you can mute. Yeah, okay. I'll keep talking.
Did you charge it?
Yes, I charged it. They've been charging since last week.
I think your lava's back, bro.
Really?
That was like a straight up glitch in the Matrix.
Maybe there's like some crazy electromagnetic pulse going through Columbia right now or something that only affects wireless lavalier microphones. We all good? Do I get thumbs up?
I think we're gonna get a thumbs up. Hold on, I'm gonna
come read the chat too. Sorry, y'all.
A little bit. I like that you've embraced the word y'all.
I used the word y'all when I lived in California and people looked at me weird.
Oh, really?
I hear him.
I know. I need to drink coffee after that.
I need to drink a beer. It changed when you switched camera. Oh, Tatooine Sky's back. Hey. Okay. Kyle was driving through a tunnel. Okay, so I'm going to put this microphone away because it's haunting us. Anyways, I don't even remember where I was getting on at. I was supposed to be given a tip. We were drilling holes through the side of the cabinet. Set your drill bit so you don't drill through the entire cabinet. That's always a good thing. Have a steady hand. Right now I do have the battery pack mounted to the side of the cabinet. And again, the reason we mount it to the side of the cabinet way down in the corner is to keep the batteries away from the computer. So just in case, if they leak again, they are far enough away from the computer to not cause damage. Last week, if y'all remember, we did do the remote or the disconnect. So if we do need to remove the computer for service, now we do not need to cut or unsolder wires. I do need to add a couple of, I'll probably add a zip tie to hold it to the insert panel harness here to keep it nice and solid and keep the wiring looking nice. We will reinstall all of the cables back onto the MPU. This cable here sends data from the computer to the soundboard, which is here. This is one of the first couple WPC games that not only... What's up?
Can you zoom in a little? Nice.
This is one of the first couple WPC games that not only did not use a dot matrix display, but it also does not use solid state flippers. This is one of the couple games that uses end of stroke switches, normally closed end of stroke switches for the flippers. So you do not have your Fliptronic board up here. This ribbon cable here sends lamp and solenoid data between the computer and the driver board. This plug right here is your 5 volts, 12 volts, and ground for the MPU. This ribbon cable here hooks up to your, what's it called? The display board. The dot matrix games would have their dot matrix displays down here on the speaker panel, and then have a dot matrix control board here. This 2-panel 32-digit alphanumeric display, it has its own power supply and some decoding in driver devices down here. So you've got 2 separate boards here. This one has the glass soldered to it, and this one is the more of the brains. It's neat. Data East Checkpoint was the first. Ah, shucks, that would have been a good trivia question. Okay, here's a good one. There's 2 other WPC games that use this 32-digit alphanumeric display. What are they? And other than Bride of Pinbot, there are 2 others.
First person to get it right in the chat will send a keychain.
Yeah.
Marco keychain.
then we've got our switches here that connect down at the bottom, your dedicated cabinet switches, and then you've got your switch rows and columns for the playfield switches that hook up right here. And then we have it.
Diner. Kevin Moore asked Diner.
Diner is not a WPC game. That's still System 11.
Wah, wah. And it's 2 of them we're looking for, right?
Yeah, there's 2 other ones that run on the WPC system that use an alphanumeric display.
Obi Drunk Kenobi, nice name by the way, said Funhouse and Whirlwind.
Funhouse is one of them. Whirlwind is a System 11 game.
Ooh.
The other game is like really uncommon and you do not see them very often. But it's
Hilt also says Dr. Dude.
Okay, so I knew someone was going to say that. That's a technicality, actually. So that guy wins for one reason. But Dr. Dude was a System 11 game, but they did make a few test games that were WPC. So that does count, but since that wasn't like an actual production game, that wasn't part of my trivia question. But yes, you're right. So we should send that guy a keychain because that's a good technicality. The other one...
We only got half of it, so technically we should send Obi Drunk Kenobi and Tilt Oslo.
Yes, I think you're right. Now what is the last one? There's one more game, and everyone's going to go...
there's 3 of them? Oh, snap.
Well, Dr. Dude didn't count, but this next one absolutely counts because it's probably... Everyone's going to go, oh... Okay, so I've got this mounted here too. Yep, that's it.
Scotty,
Bally's Harley Davidson.
Okay, I'm gonna tell him to send me your email address. Send us your home address, your mailing address, and we will send you guys keychain.
Yeah, and if you want to order some parts, let us know, and we'll slip the keychains in. All right.
Yeah, Mitchell Reader, you already won a bunch of stuff today. Let someone else win.
Yeah, know-it-all. Okay, here's another thing I was just thinking about that is in the heads of these WPC games that you see all the time. They're kind of hard to get to in some cases, but could we zoom in here, right down here? There's these things are made out of 4 separate pieces, right? Well, a lot of pieces, but you've got your basic frame, right? Left, top, bottom, other side, back. The way they tie those things together are using some carriage bolts, which are a bolt that has nothing. On one side, it's just a dome. It's a square inside bit, so they don't rotate, and then there's a nut. These are always loose. I guarantee you, if you have a WPC game at home, to go get a 7/16" wrench, while you're inside, tighten these things up. This one is so loose that it's hand tight.
What are you tightening right now? Because the speaker head is in the way, so
yeah.
I can't see it.
Come check these things out. This is a tip that my old mentor showed me. Do you see these bolts and these plates here? Is this visible at all?
Oh, okay.
There's these guys here, and there's bolts that run through the bottom of the heads and through the sides of the head. And these things are always loose. That is a common cause of seeing these heads start to split. When they get really, really loose, you'll have, it'll mostly be cosmetic damage, because obviously you could bring them back in. But why cause paint damage if you don't have to? I won't tighten these things on camera, but while I was installing this battery pack, I noticed that this thing was super loose. And this will get you extra points when you're actually shopping out a game. You know, I think I mentioned, like, my favorite phrase is just always be tightening. Always look for this kind of stuff. Look for these loose things. A lot of people miss this when they're working or shopping out a game or something. They don't go in and check out the actual hardware. They just make sure things work and look pretty, which is not a shop job. Make the thing just as good as it did when it left the factory.
Family Guy missed it. It was those little bolts at the end, right?
Yeah, there's these plates in the bottom corners of your cabinet. In fact, one of them is missing on this game. I'll have to find another one of these bolts. But if I get in on the other side, is it easier to frame this one here? You've got these plates that hold the head together. It's a L-shaped bracket. And there are
okay.
bolts that go through. And if those things start to loosen, the head starts to split and paint starts to crack, and it's bad.
So just tighten everything, family games and everyone.
You know what I'll do is if we repost this thing, we'll post a picture, or maybe I was thinking we should put out like a little blog, and using like the notes that we get from these things, I can show pictures of things that might not be clear just because we don't want to give everyone vertigo by moving a camera around. But that's an important thing for shopping out a game. The guy I used to work for said that a game isn't shopped unless you've blown out every single crack and gotten all the dust out of everything. So, make it look nice. Anywho, yeah, I guess we can power this thing on now.
Yay, turn it on.
Yeah, let's see if that solder job worked. And then I wanted to show another tool that I created. Since we had a slightly blown fuse last week, I got a lot of flack for that. I want to see if we can test. I made a circuit breaker, so we don't have to use expensive fuses to test for shorts.
Oh, nice.
Anyways, let's see. I'm going to take the little bouncy playfield that I cleaned and installed a bunch of new red
I love that one.
posts and rubbers on.
Wow.
You got to do,
nice work.
when you're working on these things, you got to do the snap test. I saw one of these was broken, and then I went in with my thumb and I just started pushing on them, and all of them cracked in half. These things,
strong.
especially on this game, yeah, my strong thumbs. On this game, these things are always brittle. Spend the money, spend the time to replace them. You'll be happy later.
Nice.
Right.
I'm going to forward this.
Okay. Now we have batteries, so it's going to be all grumpy because we haven't set any of the parameters yet. Factory settings restored. Let me get in here and work the controls just a little bit. Get that out of the way. Let's see. Might not. We're going to put this thing in lamp test really quick. Lamp test will give us all of the lamps running at the same time. Okay, we don't have lamps on this. There is an issue with this board somewhere. I'm going to have to figure that one out. I thought that it was just cracked solder, which is a real common occurrence, but before, I just took it out and said, oh, cracked solder, let's do that on the show. I didn't wiggle it. Usually when you get the wiggle test,
yeah.
that's when you see things light up. So, you might have a broken wire. Oh, look at that. Got a bad connector.
Oh.
Okay. Let's. I think we talked about this last week too, but can we on this guy? The difference between the crimping stuff and IDC connectors. I know that we've talked about it. I'm going to talk about it again. IDC connectors are evil and they are annoying. They cause all sorts of goofy problems. These things, what they do is you run a wire onto the top of this connector here. And there are the pins that go around the header are like little knives. And what they do is you push the wire in on top of those things. It cuts just like a teeny little bit of insulation away, and that's what's supposed to make a connection on.
Did your mic fall off of your shirt? Because you're really low all around. See, I knew what was the issue this time. I was like, it sounds like his microphone's dangling.
Oh man, this is all sorts of audio things today. Anywho,
yay.
IDC connectors can be very problematic. We did probably have some cracked solder. I did see some on these pins, but it looks like most of our problem here is one of these wires has come loose inside of its the insulation displacement connector. The way to fix this is to either try to press these wires back in, but by the time they're already loose enough to have worked their way out, trying to press them back in, you'll probably end up with the same problem. So I like to replace them with a crimp and stuff connector, which is a lot more secure, but it does require those special Molex pliers that we were using last week to build the battery disconnect harness and stuff like that. Could also check for dead light bulbs, and this one looks like it's probably okay. but we can always take a working one, stuff it in here.
Are they all LEDs?
No, these are all incandescent wedge-based bulbs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, okay, so that one was just a bad bulb, but we absolutely have a lazy insulation displacement connector here. So what I like to do on games like this, the customer didn't particularly want me to spend a bunch of money putting LEDs in this game, so I'm not going to do it. But what we are going to do is I'm placing some LEDs in, oh, wait, here's a lazy connector. Sidestep. What I have been doing is putting some LEDs into certain like general illumination areas to reduce the draw on the general illumination connectors inside the head. So reducing the amount of incandescent bulbs on the general illumination side is a really good upgrade for any pinball machine. On this game especially, because getting to these pop bumpers is a pain in the butt, I put LEDs inside these guys, so they'll never go out. Yeah.
And then so like for lights that are underneath inserts and stuff like that, it's okay to keep the incandescent bulbs?
Yeah, those don't cause problems with the, they don't pull too much current and blow connectors out like the general illumination bulbs do. They are on, you know, just momentary. They come on for just a fraction of a second, then turn off.
Right.
So they don't carry the same like massive current draw. So, okay, so a combination of cracked solder, lazy lamp sockets, and a bad insulation displacement connector, and this board works again. What I did with one of these lamps was, you've got these twist sockets that are really common on newer pinball machines. These things sometimes when they've been stuck inside of a board for 30 years, you can get a little bit of tarnishing on these contact points here, these little wings that come out. So what you can do sometimes is just scrape them with your fingernail and bend the little wings.
Fingernails.
If you don't have fingernails, use a business card, use something. Use your skin, that'll take off enough of the gunk to get these things to light up again. And sometimes what you can do is just bend them up, add a little bit more tension to push against the board, and that will work. How these things work is you've got your basically the two sides of the circuit to light the bulb on the back of the circuit board, and they press up against one side, and that's how you light the bulb. So sometimes when they lose tension or they're just a little bit dirty, you won't get a good connection, you won't get lights. So
Cool. And Scotty said pencil eraser.
yeah.
Works good too.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a really
good. They're
tip.
just abrasive enough to take off a bunch of nasty stuff.
Yeah, but probably not fine sandpaper.
I mean, that's not
Or
the
could use
worst
it.
thing.
Mitchell Reader said.
Fine sandpaper would be okay, but that's kind of like unwieldy. I think I showed this off last time also. Going back over to my toolbox, a fiberglass brush like this is very good for
cool.
tarnishing or getting things nice again. So this is a very handy tool when you're starting to do board work and stuff like that. But if y'all didn't notice, we're missing all of the lamps on the back box.
Oh no, that's what those holes are?
Well, that's what these non-lit bulbs are. We've got, these are controlled lamps. There's an effect in the game to light up. I guess this is the bride's leg.
Yeah.
And that shows what your jackpot value or something like that. And then like her face and other parts will light up. So these are controlled by the computer, but all of these should just be on. We've got some flash bulbs up here, which will not come on in lamp test. But we did find a blown fuse last time. So let's actually take a handy dandy tool. I think I put it back in my parts box here. When you are blowing fuses left and right, sometimes the only way you can test these things is, let me show you. The only way to test these things is to, put a fuse in and see what happens. Make a change, put another fuse in. Make a change, put another fuse in. And that can get awfully expensive. I've built a few of these things in different amperages. It's a circuit breaker.
Whoa.
And then I solder wire to each end of the circuit breaker, each end to a blown fuse, and then I can use this in place of wasting a bunch of fuses. It's handy. They're hard to find in small amperages. I think I had to buy these from a specialty electronics store. I had to go in person. Where I was living in the Bay Area, there was actually still electronics stores, and they had these in stock. So I think in my box I carry a 1 amp for Bally solenoids on old Bally games. Here's a 3 amp one because sometimes logic circuits take 3 amps. This is the 1 amp, and then a 15 amp, which is real common for other general illumination circuits. So they're handy to have around.
So you just pull the fuse out of the game and plug it into that thing to test it?
Yep. So that's what we're going to do here.
Would that be the same thing as just like using a meter to test the fuse?
No. Well, no, you would put this in place of the fuse. So if we had a short circuit, it's going to blow the fuse out, right? So the only way to go in and, you check and figure out, okay, this may have been it, you make your change, you pop another fuse in there, it blows up again, right? So a circuit breaker it'll act like a fuse. It'll blow up, and then you can reset it so you don't have to keep using fuses. So nice. I've installed the circuit breaker in this general illumination circuit here. I'm going to flip the switch on, and if we have a short, it's going to pop.
Oh, let's zoom in on it. Let's zoom in on the pop. I mean, I hope it doesn't pop, but in case it does, let's get it on camera.
So we're lucky. Now we've got half of our lights back. So that's good. We're making progress, right? If I yank the circuit breaker out again, you'll see that we're missing what's called a string of general illumination.
And you could pick up one of those at Aviation Parts. To Google them.
Nice, yeah.
Tip from Scotty.
Yeah, take a look. I mean, see what you'll get more.
Handy.
You'll know what you need more when you start working on games. You definitely want circuit breakers for games for general illumination, right? Older games generally use a 10 or a 15 amp fuse, like Bally games, electromechanical games. This game has enough GI circuits where they use like 4 or 5 different 5 amp fuses, and that's what this is. So it looks like the circuit's good. That fuse, it just might have been its time to go. So we can put another fuse back in there, and hopefully it won't blow up. One thing, though, is we do only have one circuit going, and it looked like we only had the green and white-green circuit going on. If this shows up at all, the general illumination on these games is cut up into...
Messy.
Messy? That's beautiful. It's so well wired.
It's beautiful.
These games have, I think they have 4 or 5 different general illumination circuits. I guess I could count. Yeah, it's 5. So on the back box, we have 2 different, we'll call them colors, right? We've got our green and white green, and then we have a brown and white brown. When we were looking, right, we saw that all the lamps in the center were controlled lamps. So these are all on what's called the lamp matrix. We won't get into this technical stuff right now. But you can see, right, when we had that guy in there, all these lamps around this perimeter went on, but we were missing all of the lamps on the left-hand side. So the circuit for the brown and white-brown GI is out. I am going to grab a fuse, and we are going to grab a puller, and we are going to see if there's a short in that one. Tracing down general illumination shorts is infuriating sometimes. It's very, very, very difficult to try to find the problem. Sometimes you'll find that you might have a shorted socket. I've seen shorted light bulbs, which is like extra infuriating. Let's see.
Yeah.
So that's why it's handy to have these things around when you're chasing these problems that can be, or that aren't, cut and dry. Okay, let's see. So I can.
It was a question I missed earlier when you were talking about the GI and incandescent and LED bulbs. Tattooing Sky, if you're still in here, they asked, how about heating and warping of inserts? I guess in response to, would an incandescent bulb heat or warp an insert?
No.
You have to ever worry about that? To where you should change it to LEDs, I guess?
No, generally not. When you have inserts that are cupped or warped or something like that, generally that is because of the playfield is wood, the insert is plastic, they expand at different rates. Sometimes that will cause those sorts of things to happen. Now, you know, again though, it shouldn't happen because you're, how am I going to get this one out? I don't have that handy fuse puller that Per Monson linked to us last week, so I'm going to try doing it the dangerous and old school way. There we go. The insert, what will happen, you know, you'll see this common on Data East games. A lot of times Data East games would use flashers underneath certain inserts, and sometimes flash lamps can get locked on. The transistor will go bad, the flash lamp will lock on, and that will cause burn marks in the playfield. An incandescent lamp will not screw up an insert that way unless you have some sort of freak problem. A bulb actually burns and catches on fire. You've overfused your game and you use the wrong bulb and it gets way too hot. If everything's correct, you know, and the bulb were to get that hot, it should, you know, blow the fuse way before that point. I wouldn't worry about it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
If the game's lasted this long, you know, the chances of it, you know, they don't get played as much in your home as they used to in the arcades back in the 80s. So what I did there was that I installed a fuse in the circuit that was blown last week that I noticed. I identified the brown and white-brown circuit using the fuse list here. It says brown and white-brown is fuse F110. So I yanked that fuse out without testing it. I mean, I guess I could take a look. It doesn't look blown, but sometimes you'll have fuses that blow like way up inside the caps and you'll never see them without using a meter. We'll pop this thing on. The circuit breaker didn't blow, and we've got all of our GI lights back. So
Wow.
we had some lazy fuses, or someone shorted something at some point and just never replaced the fuses. So that's nice. I like that.
Cool.
I like it when a problem's simple like that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we could sit here and mess with these things all day, right? We were talking about reassembling the game, and I'm still sitting here.
Yeah, we haven't reassembled anything, but you got the battery pack to the side, right?
Yes.
I missed that because it was during the audio fiasco, and
Yes, I did
you
do
know
that.
how I get.
5 amp, okay. I
Good.
think I don't want to reiterate myself a bunch of times. I think we talked about fuses last week, so if you're confused about fuses at all or want to learn a little bit, you could tune into our episode from last week, and I explained the difference between like a fast blow fuse and a slow blow fuse. You'll see that on your fuse chart, SB, FB. You know, there's went into detail on that. So now we can turn this on. We've got.
Oh man, everyone's making the confused joke.
Fuses do make people confused all the time.
I
People
think
will
so,
order
too.
fuse kits from us and say, but the schematic said to use a 50-volt fuse, but you sent me a 250-volt fuse. That's okay. I talked about that last week. Go and check it out if you're confused.
I gotta check that out. Yeah, because all the fuses, you know, they sort of look the same until you're like, oh.
Oh. So we do have some light bulbs out, but at least we've got some working strands of GI again. Sometimes we've just got lazy light bulbs. You've got crud that's built up in between the socket and the tip of these wedge-based bulbs. So sometimes you get lucky and you can just yank them out and put them back in. I will be replacing at least 50% of these incandescent bulbs up here with LEDs to reduce the draw on those connectors so we don't have to go and replace those general illumination connectors down the line. We got really lucky that this game, the guy that brought this to me, it's been in his house for a long time. I think he got this in the late 90s, so it only spent a few years on location, probably spent another few years packed up in a warehouse somewhere until he bought it. So we're lucky that we don't have a lot of board work to do on this game. I'm hoping once it goes back together, it'll be smooth sailing.
You want to hear a funny story from Scotty?
Definitely.
So he works at a hospital, and he will
Good
put
man.
a pinball machine in his office, and some fun hater brought up that it's an increased fire hazard with a pinball machine in the office.
Come on.
But yeah, mTort brings up a good point is if you're working at a hospital, you should, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a children's hospital, but reach out to projectpinball.org. They actually place pinball machines in the hospital for the doctors, employees, and especially the patients to play as a relief, stress relief, and also helping with hand-eye coordination, depending on what they're going through, exercise, standing. Walking the halls is kind of boring, so they can walk to the pinball machine and have a goal to play. So
play a couple rounds and that's an incredible organization, and it was really fun to work with them last month, raffling off our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Pro that Stern sent us. We raffled it off live, and that was just incredible. That was so much fun.
Yeah, and that guy's playing his Turtles Pro now. I'm jealous.
I wonder if he's been able to beat my score. I put up a really good score on it right before I put it back in the box and sent it to him. So, yeah.
Yeah, Scotty, if you reach out to them and you don't hear back or anything, we work with Project Pinball very closely. So shoot us a line too, and we'll help it. Put in the chat what area you're in too. I wonder if there's a pinball machine somewhere in your area at another hospital. I think there's 45 now across the U.S.
The number keeps growing. That's awesome. That's exciting.
It was supposed to grow even more this year. Alas, the struggle of the shutdown. But soon.
But pinball lives on. We will be able to get pinball into more hospitals for everyone to enjoy. At some point.
Oh, yeah. And, while we're promoting Project Pinball, every day or whatever, they have a raffle. If you go to their website, you can pay $50 for a raffle ticket. It's only 200 entries, so your odds are good. And you could win a brand new pinball machine, like a Pro Series pinball machine, for only $50.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them that are still...
Premium, $75. You're a 1 in 200 chance of winning, and I know a lot of people who have won, and you get a new in-box machine basically for $50. I mean, come on.
And you're supporting an awesome cause. Ugh. Yeah, there's a lot of lights out down here too. This game, there's a lot missing. If you didn't notice, we are missing the head from this game. I think that is the original reason why this game came through the shop. The guy, 10 years ago, took the head apart because it stopped working and then just left the whole game apart. So now it's my job.
But you have the head, right?
Yeah, I have it, but it's always scary when you get I took it apart and, it's been apart for 10 years,
That is the coolest mech in pinball, I think.
Yeah,
I'm sure everyone knows about this head, but basically you're trying to make the Bride of Pinbot come alive. So first you got to give her eyes, and then you got to give her a mouth. I might have gotten that backwards. And then she turns into this beautiful, less robotic looking. Yeah, get it in her mouth.
Turn her into a woman. And then you've got this super cool mech
skin
inside. So when you lock the ball in the mouth, it kicks it out. When you lock them in the eyes, it can kick them out. And that's where it stages the balls for multi-ball, which is really fun. This thing must have cost a ton of money. And the funny thing is they only used it once. Usually when Williams would shell out a bunch of money to make something this complicated, they use it a few times. They need
to bring it back. Well, I mean, not they, but...
Someone does. I want a pinball machine with a rotating head. It's something that could only happen in the 90s, for better or worse.
So would we be able to do a PinTech episode where you are just sitting at the bench working on that and getting it to work? Or is it way too complicated?
It's not too complicated, but it's been a long time since I've only taken this apart one time. And the fact that it came to me already taken apart increases the difficulty a little bit, but I guess we could absolutely work on it a little bit. The first thing I'd want to do, since we have it all apart, is we can test to see if the motor works. I can test this on the bench with a power supply. And if this thing spins nicely, then we know that we've got a good motor. And we can start moving backwards into the electronics to see what had failed at whatever point when this game stopped working. But yeah, we could absolutely do something about that. That would be fun. there are things you always want to do to these mechanisms when you have them out like this. You know, this head is actually kind of easy to service. There's one side, I guess all sides actually, you can take the panels off. So you can actually get into the guts. So you could, you know, if these light bulbs burned out, you could replace them. It is kind of difficult to service the whole thing inside. But Williams did engineer this thing to all come out through the bottom, I believe. There's screws on top, but then it can be rotated to be brought out the bottom, if I remember. So yeah, no, we can mess with it. We definitely want to check, because again, we have things that are soldered to the board, these lamp sockets.
The owner's in the chat, and he's like, where's my machine, Kyle? I'm just kidding.
Don't scare me. Oh, it's in my living room still. No, yeah, maybe we will dissect this a little bit. It's a pretty simple mechanism, though. It's just very elegant.
Does it break often, or is it because he pulled it out and tinkered with it that we have this problem? Like, is that a common thing? You see a Bride of Pinbot, you know the head's going to be messed up?
No, what the general problem, what you usually have is a problem with the electronics that drive the motor. I think the way the circuit works is there is a transistor on this driver board that says, hey, go motor. And then what that does is it activates a relay, which then closes and drives voltage to the motor to make it do things. And this probably was a very simple, the relay was dirty, or the relay had broken solder connections. I believe this is the board right here. I'm not sure. This is like a general illumination relay, but Williams used them for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. The problem could have been very simple, but the fella that owned it didn't know what he was doing, so he just started to take it apart, which can cause headaches for me. This could have been a very simple problem, but actually,
do you see bad solder joints?
No, but let me see. I'm turning the camera around so I could point this out. Do you see this trace on this board that's just...
He's picking at it. Don't pick at your scabs.
I don't know if this will...
Oh, okay. It's
you
like
see that against my palm
trail?
right there? There's a trace that's just burnt off of the bottom of the circuit board right
and
here.
It's fringed up.
Yeah. There's,
oh no.
I don't remember
So
if...
is that board toast?
No, you can repair this. You can patch the trace and make it better, but yeah, I don't know. I don't remember if this is the actual board that is used on for that motor, but yeah, we need to fix that. This guy...
Rolling Wonder asked, am I right that the diverter between the eyes on the side with the holes for the eyes are operated by the force of the balls only?
Yep. There's nothing... Again, you know, when you're shooting the balls in, if this thing is situated with the pointy bit up to the right, the ball's going to fall in like that. And then if the ball obviously needs to go into the other side, so the ball's just going to roll in like that.
Nice. I never noticed that.
It's a very simple and elegant way to stage the ball without extra electronics.
That's so cool.
It's good engineering. It's amazing because you got to remember these things are built to be put in a pizza parlor or an arcade and eat quarters for a long time, right? Without needing a bunch of maintenance. And you know, the fact that this thing still works nowadays is testament to that good engineering.
We just have to do an episode where you're working on the Bride of Pinbot's head.
Yeah, we'll do one when I'm trying to figure out what's going on with it. Absolutely. I'll keep working and remember how the circuit goes once it gets all back together, and we'll see what we can figure out. If this is in fact the snubber board, there is a big empty spot where this relay goes, right? This board goes right here on the bottom of the playfield. If this is in fact the board, I mean, we just found the problem.
Cool.
And I can see here that there are some empty wires that are not general illumination colored. Gray wires are generally 12 volts. I have a feeling that we just had a burnt out trace, and this all could have been solved with just fixing this board.
Man.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a little for the last 10 minutes or so. Any other questions you guys have for Kyle while we have him on the line? Could be Bride of Pinbot related. It could be life related. Indie Pins had a question.
All right.
And he says, do old Gottlieb machines open up as completely as you have for this one? He's never seen it taken beyond the kickstand height.
It depends on what your definition of old is. If you're talking like old Gottlieb being like 60s or 70s, yeah, most pinball machines, most pinball games generally will do this. These Williams games of this era were just on a fixed pivot. So you lift it up and it will pivot up like this. A lot of older games like, here's an old Gottlieb. Oh yeah, it's in the frame. This 2001 right here, or this Kings of Steel, what you'll have to do generally is you lift the playfield up and then pull it out. They don't pivot like these newer games will. So yeah, most pinball machines will go up into a service position. I generally do not.
So scary.
I do not like working on them on the rods. I'm tall, so I do have an advantage to be able to get to some of these things up here. But Tim Arnold, infamous, wonderful Tim Arnold, he did write a comic a long time ago that was influential to me when I was learning this stuff. And propping them on the prop rod can cause the playfield to flex. You're supporting something heavy from one side, and he says that can cause cracking in the paint. And he's not wrong. Have I ever seen that happen? No, but it's something that's been ingrained in my head. I just never do it anymore.
Word. Mitchell Reader had a question. His Mylar is a little hazy on his space station. He already used Novus 2, but it's still not working too good. Will it ever get more clear-ish? Any suggestions for getting rid of that haze?
I guess it depends on where the haze is. I mean, the haze could be on the top, but if you've really gotten in there and used a lot of muscle to try to get that haze out, you could have adhesive. The adhesive that holds the Mylar down is starting to cloud. It's hard, man. It's hard. You might not be able to get that out without removing the Mylar. And then if you try to remove the Mylar, you could take off paint or insert decals and stuff like that. So I don't really have any good tips for you on that one. I'm sorry. It's a hard situation. I mean, Mylar is a great thing. The Mylar on this playfield absolutely saved it. It's in amazing shape where the Mylar is. But, especially games that are 6-7 years older than this game, like your Space Shuttle, or was it Space Station?
Space Shuttle.
Space Shuttle, yeah, the older stuff.
Space Station, just kidding.
Oh, Space Station's not that much older than this. Yeah, I mean, it could just be, try this. Try stepping up to the Novus 3. That is a much coarser polish. That could get in there and take out some of that nasty in the Mylar, but the Mylar could be super scratched up from having a ball that was just really nicked up, and it's put a lot of deep scratches in the Mylar. Try stepping it up one step and using that Novus number 3, and then keep stepping it down to number 2, and then try to do a final polish with the liquid number 1.
He says he's going to try it, and if it doesn't work, you owe him a new pinball machine.
What?
He didn't say that.
A new pinball machine?
Asked, very good question. Is there anything special about these high-precision pinballs, or silver jets, that you see in our little scroll? We like the silver jets. So why don't you tell everyone the difference between a regular pinball and silver jets?
It's the way they're hardened to have a much nicer finish on the outside. There has been a problem. Long story short, the last pinball manufacturer, it's just a bearing, right? A 1 1/16 inch bearing. The last manufacturer that has been doing it for a long time stopped. So now it's been a struggle for a while to find some super high quality pinballs. But the silver jets, it's the hardening process that makes them have a harder and a shinier and more brilliant, lovely surface on the outside. The one downside to that hard, lovely, brilliant surface is that the balls do tend to retain a bit of magnetism. So you can see issues in games that use a lot of magnets, and when the balls land into the ball trough at the bottom of the game, they can stick together and not want to move down. So we generally don't recommend to use those balls in games with magnets. It's try at your own peril. Some games will be fine. I've used them in my Twilight Zone for years, and I don't have an issue. Some games like Theater of Magic, for instance, or Tales of the Arabian Nights, they don't tend to do so well in. But try them out. See if you find good luck. They just have a brilliant finish. They're lovely.
Nice.
I've got some in my box somewhere.
Questions? So last week I was rewatching y'all's stream, and I think you guys spent about 10 minutes talking about how you were going to work on Fire, and here we are.
Hold me accountable.
Not working on Fire. I hope people aren't upset, but is that something we can expect next week? I think we
can. I think
and
I will.
What would you work on it?
I have
What
no
kind of
idea.
stuff would we do
I don't
on
know
it?
if the game starts. I mean, it looks pretty. It's all
So
there, but
servicing it?
yeah, we'll start servicing it. We're gonna see what it needs. We're gonna see if it turns on. We're gonna see how safe it is to work on. I know we've done that once or twice on this show, but let's get into that project and really finish it. It doesn't look like a game that really needs to be what I'd call, again, shopped out. It doesn't need to be all taken apart, everything clean, nooks and crannies. It looks like a game that really just needs a decent servicing. So let's try that. Yeah, that'll be a fun project. I'm surprised no one else has held me accountable for that, because once you told me, it's like, wait, I just watched the show and you talked about Fire for 10 minutes. I was like, oh,
You
crap.
guys even ran a poll on Twitch, and it did a little spinny thing, and everyone chose Fire, and
Well, I'm
it was
sorry.
Fire or Baywatch.
Well,
Somehow
Baywatch
Fire
is the
won.
#1 choice always, and Baywatch is going to be well, you know what? It's hot here, right? It's like we live on the opposite Baywatch side. They're all in California with their like not humid beaches. We're on these humid, nasty beaches. We go to the beach at the end of summer. At the end of summer, we will start working on Baywatch because I'm not going to the beach here. I'm going to need to
okay.
bring the beach to myself, and it's with that pinball machine. So
Nice.
Hold me to
Mitchell
that.
Reader said, I will hold you accountable for that. He says, I would like to see how to gap EOS and flipper switches, which I think we've done in the past,
Yep.
but we should do it again.
Yeah, well,
always.
we did that. We did that with roller games. That was like the first like big video we did, but that was also while we still had like really crap cameras, and now we're just like elevated crap.
Now
so
we can zoom in.
yeah, the next
like-
one will be a
I
bit
don't
better,
know.
but yeah, let's work on that on Fire. That'll be really similar to your space shuttle. It won't be the same, but it'll be similar enough. If you wanted to trudge through the poor quality videos, check back on the roller games one we did. That one was pretty thorough. But yeah, we'll
Nice.
definitely be doing that. I want to pound flipper rebuilds into everyone's head because it's easy and it's the best way to spruce your game up without doing too much work.
Yes. That'll be a good one. Netreamer called me out and said, I recall no commitments last week, just discussions of lots of options.
Well, oh
I
hey,
watched the playback.
Netreamer, check it out. Everyone's all trashing on me for my $7 Fry's Electronics voltmeter that I've used forever. Check it out. It still works. Haha.
Ah.
I was told that it would be dead by next week, but it's absolutely still working. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Cool.
let's
So
do
we're
that.
gonna
We'll do Fire.
We'll do flipper, another flipper rebuild. We'll just
That'll be
figure
down
out
the
what's
line.
wrong with it.
Again,
We'll
like
adjust
what
some switches.
I'll come prepared next week on Fire with I'll come prepared with stuff to rebuild the power supply. That's a common issue on System 11 games is nasty power supplies. I'll make sure I have a bunch of crimp and stuff Molex connectors so we can rebuild possible dead connectors. So again, a lot of like assessing a pinball machine is bringing it up to snuff until it's safe to turn on. So we'll be doing a good overview. It'll be a
Awesome.
little more educational than Kyle screwing and putting rubbers onto a pinball machine. So
Screwing. We have another request for what we'll be doing next week, which is a deep dive on pinballs, showing the surfaces up close on a USB microscope that we apparently have at the office.
yeah, we do. We can definitely do that. That would be interesting. I
I'm
have a
gonna add it to the
couple.
list. That sounds so exciting.
That's something we can
we
record
need to
and
test out that camera. Oh man.
I use it
We
to
can
look at
even use
EPROMs.
that to when we adjust the EOS switches. We use a little USB.
That's overkill. These guys work fine. We can do that. That would be fun. I've got in my box of pinball curiosities, I have a bunch of like really bad pinballs. I have a pinball. It's like, what's like a 1,000-sided sphere? Is there a word for that? I have a pinball that looks like a 1,000-sided like sphere. It's ridiculous. The thing is like so flat. I'd love to see that under a microscope, but we'll definitely
Yeah.
take like a standard pinball, a very well-used pinball, a super effed up pinball, and a silver jet, and we'll put them under a microscope and make a video. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, find your messed up pinballs, or get a pinball and throw it on the ground or something.
No, I'll just take one out of one of my games that was on location.
Sky is trolling us on our technical difficulties.
Bring it on.
Pinball122 said, what were those circuit breaker fuse inserts called again?
So it's just a circuit breaker. But again, if you went to Home Depot, or I don't go to Home Depot, you go to like Ace Hardware or something like that, your little local hardware store, they're going to say, you go in there and ask for a 5-amp circuit breaker, they're going to laugh at you because they have things that are built for houses, right? 120 amp or 20, it's a big values. This is a 5-amp circuit breaker. So these are kind of hard to get. I think someone in the chat posted like aviation electronics or something.
Yep, aviation.
That being said, I think I did find the 15 amp or the 20 amp one I have at a hardware store, but anything smaller like the 3 amp, 5 amp, 1 amps, you're not going to be able to find that. You're going to have to find somewhere specialized to get that stuff. I found, again, most of these I found at a local electronics store back when those still existed, so you could check those things out and try to find those holes in the walls still.
Nice.
This is a great tool, though. It's saved me so much money in fuses.
Oh, Obi suggested maybe a boat supply store? Boat supply store might have it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not.
Or plane, like remote controlled planes.
Yeah, hobby shops. That's a good point. If you can still find those places. Yeah, I'm not familiar with like the electronics on like a boat or something, but maybe they do have small breakers like that. But again, most big box hardware stores are just going to have things for like your breaker panel in your garage, as opposed to small value like this.
What else? Oh, we're getting so much stuff.
Good, bring it on. I got all day.
Suggestion from Mitchell. He's full of great suggestions. How to do Molex connectors, grounding issues, replacing speakers, display repair, Gottlieb old display burning.
Why don't you just come down to South Carolina when it's safe, man, and we'll go over all this. You can be the pupil. We'll talk. We'll do all those things. I want to do all those things.
You get on Zoom. You can be me, and I'll go behind the scenes, and then we'll have perfect audio and camera set up.
Bring it on, Mitchell. No, I want to do all those things, but we kind of have to find them in the progression of what we're doing, right? Emoto wants me to constantly break things on these games so I can demonstrate it, but it's better to kind of find those things when they pop up. I guarantee you in that System 11 game, Fire, we're going to find some Molex connectors we need to redo. Last week, since you were on vacation, you didn't see me crimping a few of the Molex things we were doing, but I want to bring that up.
Missed it, Mitchell.
That's like, when I've been teaching, newbies or beginners, like that's the one thing I always want them to get down because it's a very important part of solving lots of weird issues with old pinball games.
Oh, cool. And Scotty just posted a link to, let me post this so it goes on the Facebook. Link to that circuit breaker thing.
Maybe we need to get a couple of those things in stock. I think
so.
I can make I'll start revamping our tool section, and Kyle will personally solder these things together and create them with love and send them to you.
IndiePin says, I need to replace flipper bats, but I can't tell how they are attached to the mechanism. Any help on that?
Yep, it depends on what game it is. Generally, they are clamped. Let me get an example and show you how it is on most Williams games. I'm going to flip this screen around here so I can see what I'm looking at. So this is a standard Williams System 11 or System WPC era. It's a Williams flipper link. Let's leave it at that. The flipper bat has a solid shaft. You've got this hole here, which you will clamp down using a 3/8" open-ended wrench here. The flipper bat on these Williams games, they just slide in, and then they are clamped. It's like a good a circle clamp around that holds it nice and tight. Some games, like old Bally games or old Gottlieb games, they'll have a similar crank, but they will use set screws. Oh, I'm sorry. They'll use set screws that come in and pinch the flipper in multiple places to hold it in place. So it depends on the game. If you are uncertain, you could go check out, well, look for the part. You could use our website to look for the correct part, and you might be able to decipher how it goes. Or you could go on PinWiki. PinWiki has a good layout of how a lot of these flippers go together. So, yeah. Good question.
Yeah, that was a really good question. Very cool.
But here's the thing, too. Just take it apart. Take it apart, and you'll figure it out, you know? You can replace all that stuff, so you're not going to break anything, and if you do, you can get a new one. So,
yeah,
fiddle.
and it depends what game are you replacing it on? Curious if you're still here listening.
That's the one thing I want to instill confidence in all y'all to do, is to just take things apart and, you know, do it safely and try to put it back together. It's fun.
But the guy took apart the Bride of Pinbot head, and it destroyed the game.
It didn't destroy the game. It's just, it was unnecessary work. He could have left it in. It would have been fine. The problem was most likely something else. But again, you know, it's like, if he would have fixed it, he would have felt empowered. Maybe he would have owned like 3 or 4 pinball machines now. So unfortunately, this one didn't get fixed. IndiePin
says it's a diamond lady. And from the picture on the website, the flipper looks just like it's just plastic.
It's a Gottlieb game, Diamond Lady, right? Oh, yeah. So I guess it depends. You're trying to replace the flipper bat. The flipper bat on some of those games. Let me get my example back one more time. Where'd I put it? Here it is. So some games they'll use 2 parts for a flipper. Gottlieb did this forever until they went out of business. Bally did this in the early 80s. But you have 2 parts to a flipper, and it's called a shaft and shoe. So you have a metal cutout. That is like the foot of the flipper with the shaft molded into it. And what you'll do on some of those games is there's either a screw that goes in through the bottom, and that allows you to replace just the bat. On some of those newer Gottlieb games, you'll notice Crystal and I were talking about this morning. As the newer Gottlieb games that say Gottlieb down the flipper, there's a screw that goes in through the top. A lot of reproduction flippers like this, they're molded into one piece. So. But yeah, if you're just trying to replace the bat, there's probably a screw underneath. So remove this from the crank, and then you'll see how to separate it.
Nice.
I might have an example in my box of parts of a... No, I actually don't. I know I don't, because I was looking for one the other day for my Viking. So
how about tips on... And we can do this in the how-to on a Pintech later too, but for refreshing play-filled plastics without damaging them further, including flattening warped pieces.
Yeah, I've got a good tried and true method for getting plastics flattened. I guess it depends on how damaged they are. You could always go in with some paint, and you could try to repaint them from the underside, but I could go like real quick. What I normally do with really warped plastics that you can't get examples of anymore. I had an oven in the shop. We had 2 pieces of glass that were cut the exact width of the oven. I would set the oven on the lowest temperature it could possibly go. I would clean the plastics very thoroughly, lay the plastics onto the glass, make sure the glass is also clean, put the other piece of glass on top, set it in the oven, and leave it in there for 45 minutes and check. Or, you know, less time and check. Constantly go back and check. But what you're doing is slowly and evenly heating up the plastic and the glass. So then they will start to, you know, flatten themselves out. And again, you don't want to leave them in too long. If you leave them in too long and you start melting things, the inks start delaminating. This is definitely a do-it-your-own. This is a risky thing. You could screw up your stuff. But I found it very safe to put the oven on super low and try 45 minutes and see what you get.
What temperature do you advise?
Low, as low as it goes. Sometimes, I mean, like our oven just had low, and I think the next setting was like 175. So we're talking like 150 degrees. Or you could just leave them in a car in the South Carolina summer, and they'd probably do the same thing. But that's not as controlled as an oven is. So.
That would be a really cool Pintech video to do, actually.
Yeah, put like a screwed up flasher dome and see how long it takes to melt in the car in the parking lot.
Well, I mean, like actually fixing warped plastics.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can do that too.
Plastics on purpose.
We could, I mean, yeah, if I found a set that are kind of warped, yeah, we could totally do that. We need to find an oven. I wouldn't use the oven I have at my house because it's really old, but we can come up with something.
What about how to rewire the auxiliary power to be switched on a Williams, i.e. Gorgar?
Auxiliary power? Well, I need some clarification on auxiliary power.
Justin TV, Enod Justin TV. If you're still here and you want to give more information about what you're looking for, send it in.
I can't think. I'm not sure.
Oh, and then speaking of Gorgar, everyone's talking about Gorgar now.
It's a great game.
Mitchell said, my Gorgar has started rebooting when I hit both flippers at the same time. Do you know what's happening?
Yeah, you've got something bad going on. Generally, when you hit both of the flippers, you're pulling a lot of. I'm trying to remember. Those are 40-something volt flippers. I need to remember how the power's routed.
Oh, the circuit. Oh, okay, sorry.
The voltage that it might be used for the flippers also might end up being used for logic. Replace the filter capacitors on your power supply first. That's the first thing I'd recommend doing. I think the way that the Williams power supply at that age worked is you would get unregulated 12 volts, basically 12 volts coming off of the transformer, and then it gets what's called filtered. It goes through a large capacity capacitor to make sure that you don't get a ton of ripple, which can affect the regulation of what would be the 5 volts that turns into your logic power, which will cause the game to reset. I mean, this is also, this could go on forever, because if you have a rotten dog board and not the original, it could be one thing. If you had an original board that still has the 40-pin interconnect that's never been changed, that could be another thing. I tend to stick away from a lot of those older Williams games because they are very finicky in this day and age. So that's a tough one. That's a big project. So get back to me on that.
Yeah, it would be cool to do a show where we zoom in someone with a technical issue and they have their pinball machine there, and then you walk them through how to fix it. That's
like ultimate challenge, because a lot of this is really like being here to actually touch it. It's amazing watching what everyone does with that EM.
Yes.
The EM clinic with Netreamer's on there. Nick from Virginia's on there, and Mark Gibson, Fun with Pinball. It's amazing with an EM because a lot of the times you can find those logic problems just by looking through the schematic.
Right.
But sometimes with these solid state things, the problems can be a little more, it's different. It's hard to troubleshoot a pinball machine on the phone. I'm sure people have been frustrated when they call and ask for some advice, but we can't really help you troubleshoot on the phone just because, like I was trying to help with that Gorgar thing, it could be 15 things. I need to see them before I could give you pertinent advice, right? So, but yes, I would like to do that one day, especially if it's a Bally game, because that's fun.
So a few things. Justin TV came back and said it was a. Hold on, I gotta scroll up again. Goodness. Yeah. Well, do you have another pinball trivia question? Magic Ditto is eager to win a keychain, one of our new keychains. Let's see if we can give another one.
I can come up with one, but I think also if Magic Ditto sent me an email and asked me a pinball trivia question, and if he told me a joke, I'd probably send him a keychain. But
well, he did use our 24-hour free shipping link for orders over $99, so we'll just throw one in there anyways. But let's do a trivia question because they may not get it right and someone else may get a chance for a keychain.
Okay, hold on.
Should I do my hard body trivia?
I have a question I want to ask, but I know what the answer is from one company, but I don't know what the answer is from the other company. Let's ask a really easy one. What is the highest produced pinball machine of all time? This is a good easy one. Come on.
And while you guys,
I should see that chat be going like.
Up the Fun with Pinball link for their workshops. They do these a few times a month. You sign up to be either a viewer, or if you actually have an EM that needs to be fixed, you can sign up for them to look at it. It's these online repair clinics. So here's the link there.
Oh.
I've sat in on a few of these, and it's so fascinating. These guys know everything about EMs, and they just go through the schematics and help service and fix your pins right there.
I'm glad that I have
EM Pinball online repair clinics from Fun with Pinball.
I'm glad that I have NetReamer on speed dial. I can always text him a question and be like, hey, what do I need to do here?
For your trivia, what was the question again? The most produced, the highest produced?
Yes, what is the highest produced pinball machine of all time? The most successful.
All right.
I'll come and review the chat.
First, we got Adam's Family.
Yep. Who said it first? Oh, come on, Mitchell.
I know. The heck, Mitchell. But he could.
Hey, but Magic Ditto also got it right.
Well, I think Manny's Arcade got it right first. I mean, second to Mitchell Reader.
Okay, Mike Huntsman, what's up, man? Hope everything's cool in Reno. What are the two Williams DMD games where the name of the game does not show up on the translate? That's one we've talked about, Emoto.
Oh, that's my fun. I love that one. We used that one for the Ultimate Pinball Game Show that screened last week or something like that for the Northwest Pinball Show.
Yeah, this one's a good one because you wouldn't expect, you don't think about it, right? You don't always look at these games and you look for the title, right? But there are two games that
Whirlwind? No, it's not Whirlwind.
No, that's System 11. We're talking WPC, so like 1990 and newer, right? Let's put it this way. They're both games with dot matrix displays. What are the two games from Williams with dot matrix displays that do not have the title on the back glass themselves? This is my favorite pinball trivia question. People always go, oh. I gotta check the chat too. Sorry, we're going off camera for a second. Yeah, Magic Ditto got it right. Yeah, he was the first one.
Whitewater.
Yep, Adam's Family and Whitewater do not have their name on the back glass, which is just like, that one blew me away the first time I heard it too. I'm full of pinball trivia, but a lot of this crap is, like real technical stuff.
Read the joke. It's good. Hold on, I need to scroll up to Indie Pin's jokes.
Now you're gonna start telling Kyle jokes?
Yeah, so many people they're funny.
This is what makes me nervous about giving out my email address, because I know that like one day I'm going to show up to work and be like, okay, coffee time.
Mitchell Reader has a joke. Joke for Kyle. What have seals and pinball machines got in common?
I'm going to say something about flippers.
Both have flippers, juggle balls, make loads of noise, and are son of a gun to get in my car.
Okay, yeah, I give that one a good thumbs up.
I gotta go. That was good. That was a good.
Juggling balls.
I'm not trying to get a seal in my car.
Huh? Yeah, that would not be fun. Not in my car. My little Volkswagen. The seal's probably bigger than my car.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We had a really fun time.
This was like the best Q&A yet.
Yeah, we'll do this at the end of every show. So come with your questions, and remember, we'll have our 24-hour free shipping link available. So if you want to put in stuff into your shopping cart right now and get it, you have until tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern to still get access to that free shipping for orders over $99.
Yep.
Or work on it this weekend, load up your cart, figure out what you need to work on your pin, and then join us next week on Thursday, and we'll give you a new fresh link.
Yeah. And I think if you did if you had that order in by 3 p.m. tomorrow, there is a very, very, very high chance that your order will be packed up and shipped to you tomorrow as well. So you can get that stuff real quick.
Yeah. So until next week, thank you, everybody. What was the first game with a drop target? That'll be a question for you, Kyle. First game with a drop target.
I guess it depends on what you actually mean by a drop target. There is a game from the early 50s that I don't think I'm going to bring up that has a dropping target. But I mean, I know that Gottlieb started doing the drop targets in the early 70s. So, I mean, I don't know, what, 2001? Pop a card, drop a card, Dimension? I don't know. That's a good one, actually. Who invented the drop target? Give me the answer. I need to know this before you go.
And while we're waiting for that answer, NetReamer corrected you and said, World's Fair Jigsaw in 1933 had something like 70,000 units, which is way more than the Addams Family.
Yeah,
pinball.
yeah, for sure. But come on, man, that doesn't have flippers. That's not a pinball. No, I was kidding. Do they have one of those? Do you have one of those at the Pacific Pinball Museum? NetReamer, I think we do have a World's Fair. That's a neat game. A lot of that old stuff, people need to get back in and appreciate that real old stuff because it's incredible. The impact that those things had on amusement games, the real old pinball stuff. What's the drop target answer? Come on.
NetReamer said Crescendo.
Really? Huh. I thought Crescendo. No, that's an Art Stenholm art game. So yeah, that's from the 60s, huh? Huh, neat.
We're just going to spend the next hour asking all these questions. What's the only pin with a car crusher? A car crusher, like junkyard car crusher? I don't know.
Street Fighter 2?
Oh, that would be a good one. Did they really have a car crusher? Like, what was that, a video mode or something?
No, it had a
They have that in the
goofy
video
car
game.
mech on it. Check it out. Street Fighter's a fun game to play. It's goofy. I mean, you play it once or twice, and you're probably good for another couple months. But
Yep, he said yep.
Crescendo,
awesome.
really? Huh. I have to go look that one up, NetReamer. That's. I remember playing that game with you guys, but I don't recall it.
Yeah, that was a question from Manny's Arcade. That was a good one.
We need to start just going live again. We need to start doing more after hours and get people to come in and just, like, we should just stop playing pinball and just talk. I'd love to just sit and do a Q&A sometime. I've always wanted.
Kyle loves to talk.
Yeah, you couldn't tell. I love talking about pinball. I've always wanted to come in here on the weekend and just start working on a game and doing like a unproduced stream, unless Emoto wants to come in and hang out too. But we should maybe we'll start doing our after hours things on Facebook as well. So we might get a little more of a pull. Maybe you guys could come join. I don't know. We do stream sometimes on Tuesday nights is when we've been doing it lately. Generally, Steve and I will share a beer, play some pinball, and take turns standing 6 feet away from each other and enjoying a game of pinball and beer. But come talk pinball. It's fun. I love it.
Awesome. I agree. Cool.
I have talked a lot. I need to rest my vocal cords.
We're going to leave you now. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the kind encouragement. Joel and everyone else that is learning like I am. Kyle is awesome at teaching us some great stuff. And next week we'll be working on Fire, which is a really beautiful pinball machine. Yeah. And it's the Champagne edition, you guys said?
Yeah, it's the limited edition version of the game. Pretty cool. Yeah, we'll set this thing aside until I get it all set back up and we kind of fiddle with the head a little bit. It's fun to watch.
I guess if we're on Twitch, we're going to raid someone.
Yeah, who are we going to raid? Who's around? Should we crowdsource this? I'm always so bummed out I don't get to read the whole chat with you guys. I love you guys. Oh, okay, yeah.
We're going to raid our pal, Small Town Pinball, because that's what we do. I think he sets up his streams to be on the same time so we can raid him.
Perfect.
Right. See you guys. I'm going to play some Bride of Pinbot music.
Yeah. Play it. We should have been playing it the whole time, right? No.
All right. There we go.
Bye, guys.
See you guys. Bye.